I am always red. Yeah. I just have red, blue, green. I don't really care that much about red. It's not specifically about that.
Yeah.
I like green better, so you got the lucky headphones on.
Oh, I wasn't sure if they were always went to you.
They're my money headphones. No. I'll give them to my guests.
That's nice.
My prestigious guests. Speaking of, Craig, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you. It's good to be here.
29th episode. Happy to have you. I got to say, you're really catching me at the first time I think I actually know how to do this podcast. So excellent timing on your behalf.
Yeah, well, I'm a complete beginner, so I'll even it out.
I'm happy to be your audio waveform shaman as we move forward in the next hour here. But it's even lucky we got this chance because right now you're living in Denver. You're not even in Chicago.
It's true.
Despite being a Midwestern kid like myself.
Yeah.
How was the voyage here in the Corona era?
It was pretty easy. It's not the prettiest drive. I'm not sure you've done that drive from Denver to Chicago.
So you did drive. I didn't even know if you flew.
I did drive.
Okay.
Yeah. I
thought you flew. I thought you're like, I'll get asymptomatic maybe, or I'm young, I'll live, whatever.
Yeah, no. I felt like it was safer, and I got a car. Well, my first real car.
Did you buy
besides one? Besides the 1997 Mercury Sable that lasted me about a year before the engine.
Well, congrats. What's the new ride?
Oh, it's I really went pretty rogue in Denver and got a Subaru Forrester.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Dude, I could talk to you about the Subaru Forrester specifically for days. I'm currently in an intense car research phase of my life right now.
We could spend the whole podcast talking about it if you want.
I could probably spend
lose listeners by the minute. You can look at the analytics, just see people dropping off.
I'm constantly trying to retool the podcast, so I'm thinking of just switching to like a mid-sized crossover discussion show anyway.
Yeah.
So, Forrester, maybe, that's a little big for the show, but I think, even with that cargo capacity, we're still willing to bring it down.
Hey, I could talk to you. I researched cars for way too long.
So let's start a separate podcast where we can actually give people car evaluations.
Car evaluations based on, well, for me at least, knowing nothing about cars at all. We'll probably just shift. We'll either be extremely bullish or bearish on Tesla. So it'll just become like a Tesla fanboy YouTube channel. Absolutely. Yeah, but the drive wasn't bad. I stopped a couple times for gas. Ate kind of on the way. It was 15 hours total.
That's a long time.
But it flew by. Yeah.
What is is it 80 for a lot of the way?
For most of the way.
I did a lot of that in my extremely old car, my 2004 Chevy Tracker.
Yeah.
I drove it from Vegas.
Is that the white one?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, still kicking.
Yeah, looks good.
Still kicking.
Oh, yeah. So
it does look good. What looks even better is the car payments, because there aren't any. The insurance payment looks good. But did you feel like it validated your purchase, having that cross-country voyage?
Well, that was the first real... Yeah, I don't have many miles on it. I haven't put... Because I was going to possibly be driving to work. I wasn't sure what my job was going to be at the time.
You recently got a new job?
Yeah, I recently got a new job. And then luckily, pre-corona, I was able to walk to work. So then it was really just sitting around. But it's still great to bring to the mountains. But definitely got more miles on it. Probably double the miles with this trip.
Are you supposed to still warm cars up or break them in? Like when you first get a car, you're not supposed to go on the highway.
Yeah, that's true. I was told
for like 12 hours, right? How long is it?
Yeah, probably. Honestly, I think probably for like a week or a couple days. Like they just said.
Did you try to follow that?
Well, I mean, the other suggestion is don't slam on the brakes, which is kind of a funny suggestion when
you
think about it, because it's like, well, if something gets out in front of you, you're gonna have to slam on the brakes. No one's intentionally going around.
This car prefers to go, not stop.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think there was a highway thing, but there was definitely don't speed it up. Don't.
So at the very least, you were being nicer with your car.
Yeah, a little more gentle, which I probably would have been anyway.
A bit more sane. Well, I'm glad you made it. I'm really glad you made it. It's been tough, everyone being isolated in the whole pandemic. But I feel very lucky to get to see you.
Yeah, you too.
In my very backyard. I didn't even have to buy a new car and drive to Denver.
I love your garden. Love the setup.
Thank you. I've had a lot of time to do it. This has been like that magic time in life where we all get to live like 65-year-old retirees if we're working from home and or off work and or with all this new free time on our hands.
Yeah. Well, you were talking about changing your eating habits, right?
I was, yeah, because we joked about how we want to have lunch today, but we didn't want to get too tired,
Yeah.
Eating a big burger or pizza before the podcast.
Absolutely.
I've been trying not to eat.
All day.
Just avoiding. I mean, mental acuity, if I want to have good performance, you get too sluggish.
No, very true.
If I'm going to edit a video, especially if I'm going to edit the same video from 5 different camera angles, you really gotta keep that alpha wave going in your brain.
So can you walk me through it? Have you already talked about it on the podcast?
What exactly? I've talked about everything and also nothing on the podcast. So it's only 28 hours of content to sift through.
Just like if you've gotten to a spot where you feel like, all right, this is optimal for me in terms of like how much I eat in the morning. Because you don't eat
we haven't
anything in
talked
the morning.
about this. Well, I've done different strategies. So at the beginning, I was having a hard-boiled egg, literally like a fourth of a piece of toast, like a fourth of a slice of bread. So super low carb, 6-7 grams of protein from a hard-boiled egg. But some salt, pepper, maybe a small cup of coffee. I was like super old school in that way. I got something in the system. I reminded myself I was going to survive. But then, I really wouldn't put anything in for a few hours. I try to delay lunch as much as possible. What's your strategy? Like, is it based on the morning thing?
I feel like you're a lot better with like actually putting some sort of trial and error and experimentation behind it.
I mean, I am a scientist on some level. I love to experiment. Yeah.
Yeah. Where I when I was traveling for work, like when I started traveling for work and I was 22, I just have like a burger or like a huge Jimmy John's sandwich. You know, if it's on a corporate card too, you're like, well, I can get that. What's the biggest sandwich at Jimmy John's?
I was just trying to think of the name. You know, I used to work at Jimmy John's.
Yeah.
I have the whole menu memorized, except I don't have the new gimmicks memorized.
Yeah.
Because it was like post 2009 when I was working there.
It's an absurd sandwich. I think it's for Jimmy John's
there's
himself.
Unwich, there's gargantuans.
I think it was a gargantuan.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. So I still know the brand.
Yeah. And I feel like I'd have one of those and then just be at a computer, like watching a computer screen or like trying to teach someone on a computer some software, and then my eyes just like almost like a puppy, like slowly like
well,
shutting.
especially your line of work too, because I was just like in social services, so I would be like sitting there with someone who's like spilling their life story to me at 2:15 in the afternoon. So as sluggish as I wanted to feel after a meal when I was working like a 9 to 5, it just wasn't necessarily an option.
Yeah.
The computer screen, it's a different story. And actually, I mentioned editing video, whatever. I think you're way more susceptible to dozing off.
Oh, and I mean, sometimes I'd be walking an older computer user through a complicated software system where I'm telling them where to click on a screen. So it's definitely not necessarily invigorating after a huge lunch.
That's true too. You really need to be on your feet and creative, especially if you're trying to come up with like spry answers.
Yeah.
And the hardest part isn't just doing the calculation of how to, I think, solve a problem in your own mind, thinking what steps do you follow, you know, click on file, click on command, do this. You have to explain to someone who doesn't know what file is, right?
Yeah.
You have to explain to someone that doesn't understand what command is. So you not only have to inhabit your own mindset and the thought process behind solving the problem, you have to take on someone's mind.
Yeah.
You have to figure out where they're coming from. You mentioned an older person. That's why I'm seeing this, you know.
Yeah. Well, and it's
you got to put the info through their lens.
I ended up though switching to just salads for lunch, and actually that treated me pretty well.
Yeah,
while
I mean
was
that's
on
the
road.
move.
Yeah.
You're in your salad days.
Yeah. It was. Now I'm just rogue. Now I just do whatever I can get my hands on at home. Where I should be.
Has Corona changed things in that way?
No, I feel like it's just living with my girlfriend definitely has changed things. Where like I'll definitely eat healthier because of that. But
and she's got a pretty tough schedule. I mean, she's in healthcare.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So long shifts.
Absolutely, and it ranges a lot. But because of that, I think she's a better cook, and I think I've gotten better. And we'll do. And actually, Corona's been really like a silver lining, at least for being at home. The quarantine aspect is, I feel like we've been doing a lot more cooking at home.
That's the move.
Yeah.
I've saved a lot of money, eating at home a lot.
Yeah.
My girlfriend Siobhan has been great about making all sorts of fun, interesting things. She's really good. My partner's really good at taking like a few different odd ingredients and making something amazing too.
Yeah.
Like performing some of that cooking-based magic. I'm not great at that.
Ellie's really good at that too. I think
I can cook a piece of meat. I can barbecue. I can fry an egg.
I feel like it's a learned skill. I think I'm
saying the least impressive things.
you toast that toast in the morning, toast that piece of bread.
I've milked a cereal bowl before.
I think it's a learned skill. I think I'm getting better. But the same thing. Like there's a bunch of ingredients in the fridge and able to create something.
I'm the baker. She's the cooker.
What are you baking?
I just mean in terms of exactitude.
Okay.
The science.
Yeah.
The variables, the experiments, substituting
Definitely.
a little bit. I'm the baker. She's the cooker.
Have you been baking any bread?
No, I didn't put in my air conditioning yet, so it seems a little ridiculous to me. Been buying some pecan bread, some banana bread. helping
supporting the local economy, but not necessarily experimenting with making it yourself.
No, I'm not. Actually, I was buying banana bread from Oberweis, local economy, local company.
Oberweis
dairy.
is Wisconsin.
I don't know where it's based. Actually,
I didn't know they did bread.
They do it all, as it turns out. I give a shout out to Oberweis and one of the other podcasts because Matt, who I usually do these with, was also being fed by Oberweis, like our families are getting shipments, whatever. But then I just mentioned this to someone, they're like, that's like a notoriously conservative company.
Oh, really?
Right? And I've been like, shout out Oberweis on the podcast.
You've just been dropping their name every single episode, and people are starting to get suspicious.
Companies I like are Oberweis, Urban Outfitters, and Chick-fil-A. Something about those three.
Couple episodes later, you're going to be seeing their logo flash really quickly on the screen and then disappear.
No, I'm going to start doing, because I'm really working with opacities and dissolves. I'm going to take their logo, but then I'll have some devil horns, and I'll start doing some subliminal messaging. That's really the next level for me.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm not going to do an audio. I'm going to slip it in with the video.
I'm a longtime big fan, longtime listener, first time being on the show.
So I'm glad I got you on before 30. You're a real one.
I went with the armpit method of the sunglasses, which I enjoyed.
It's true. You got a couple different strategies, especially in the yard. Lots of variables.
I'm prepared for anything at this point. But you were nice to have me on today because I know we talked about this earlier, but I feel like there's so many things we're testing your equipment. There's possible rain.
Yeah.
A lot of sun, hot.
This is actually prime time for people cutting the grass.
Yeah.
Usually, seriously, lately I've learned, even just in the 10 episodes I've done outside, don't shoot weekends at 2 p.m. because that's when all the weekend warriors drive in or the suburbanites that own homes here, whatever, and cut their grass and make a fucking shit ton of noise. Even the landscaping services, a lot of times they're weekend based, they're off hour based. I know from experience, a lot of times that's from the sun. You can't handle being in the sun for hours and hours and hours. But we're very lucky. I mean, no rain, no lawnmowers. Yeah, we got it all.
I think I just felt a drop, to be honest. But I think we're good.
No, totally fine.
Well, I wasn't thinking at all. I was like, 1 o'clock. It's going to be great in Chicago in late June.
No, and it is. Honestly, there are way worse times where I could have been forced to shoot all this outside.
The weather I had when I got here was incredible. But that's definitely the best thing about Denver so far is that's consistently just incredible.
The weird thing about Denver has like a high number of sunshine days, right?
Yeah, one of the highest numbers of sunshine
because it's a mile closer to the sun. It's a mile higher in the sky. What have you been doing in Chicago? You've been here for a few days, right?
I've been here since Sunday. I drove back Sunday, and then I worked from home like Monday through Friday. So
you said 5 days.
It kind of just was instead of my room in my apartment in Denver, I'm in my childhood room.
Do you feel like you're having a pandemic rumspringa? Like you just going crazy, trying to see as much people? Are you still being super cautious because you're staying with your mom?
Yeah, I'm with my mom, so I'm being pretty cautious. I've seen a couple of friends while I've been here. My brother just moved into a new place.
Oh, okay.
So I've seen some friends, and all outside though, and you went up for a barbecue. Yeah, still being pretty good. And same in Denver. I think Denver has such a big park culture, which is nice. So you can just go to the park and hang out there.
Yeah.
Outside.
Well, so you've already had your outdoor immunity in practice then. You've already been working out the. Don't worry about it. I'll cut it. Don't worry. Thank you. Getting a lot of things done here. I actually was just listening to something recently, and they were talking about how, even right now, obviously we're safe outdoors, but you got to wonder if it switches to not being safe outdoors. What are we going to do? What if it's like the antibiotic resistant thing where you abuse a certain protection so much, i.e. being outdoors, not wearing masks, you kind of screw it over.
You read this or?
No. I saw it on a podcast last night between two idiots.
Was this,
so I have no idea if it's true.
This is Joe Rogan's podcast?
This is Joe Rogan's podcast. Extremely likely, yeah. I just skipped a moment, and there was like this, they were talking about these insane coronavirus theories.
That one is pretty insane, I think.
If it evolves quicker because you're outside or whatever. I mean, come on. There's only two options.
Yeah.
Outdoor airflow, indoor airflow. It's either static air or it's movement-based air.
Yeah, exactly.
Viral load and all this. But anyway, the thing I was more amazed about is that there's so many questions still swirling around this whole thing. You mentioned doing the barbecue thing. Obviously, you're safe enough to do that. How big was the barbecue?
Oh, 45 people.
I'm going to do your coronavirus bubble math right now. Okay, 45 divided by 6.
No, it was like 5. It was 5 of us. Another old high school friend, actually, and a couple other friends.
Nice.
So, yeah, 5. Weren't sharing apps. It felt very safe.
Appetizers?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you bring your own appetizer?
I did bring some ice cream. So.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Did you like lick an ice cream cone?
Individually wrapped.
Okay. Not a popsicle, like specifically iced cream. It was
ice
melted.
Cream, actually Klondike.
Oberweis?
Ice cream sandwiches.
Okay.
Oberweis. Drop for Oberweis.
Klondike, that's smart because then you got the chocolate keeping it all together.
Well, this was a weird Klondike. It was like a cookie. It was a sandwich. It was a little experimental, but it's good.
Is this how you're trying
drop for Klondike? Klondike over Oberweis, folks.
This is how you're stimulating the economy, is buying weird ice cream sandwiches.
That has been something I will rationalize quite a bit. Is we're like, well, we should order out, help the economy. Which, I mean,
we haven't
true.
even gotten into all that. Yeah, I don't know how paranoid you've been in general. Making fun of the barbecue and whatnot. Obviously, we all have to have these release valves and just find ways to stay sane.
Yeah.
Klondike sandwiches haven't been my go-to necessarily yet, but
that was the first time for me. Most of the time I'm Oberweis every day, but no, we probably order takeout once a week back in Denver from like a place we like. But in general, living with a healthcare worker.
I was gonna say, living with an essential worker, is Allie okay with this? Is she just like?
I mean, I think my odds were just so, and I hate to. I don't want to spend the whole podcast talking about Corona because I could, which is unfortunate. But I got sick 3 times this winter, 3 separate occasions. I was sick, and I'm not saying that I don't want to be one of those people. I definitely had it, but
I couldn't smell. Let's put it this way: I couldn't smell for a few
Out
weeks.
of the 3 times, it's possible I had it.
Give me the latest date. What's the last sickness you had?
I was feeling awful yesterday. No, it was.
I woke up this morning sore throat.
Probably about a month ago, and then I actually got a test because Denver is doing pretty good about.
Oh, cool! I'm interested in this too. So different infrastructure.
Yeah, well, it's interesting being friends with people in healthcare too, because they could Allie could have written me an order, or I could have gone and seen one of our other friends and gotten probably a test, but I wasn't in the system, and found out there was a free clinic in Denver and was able to just go online and go same day, but it was self-administered, which
nasal swab.
Yeah. And I'm sure you've heard how painful the nasal swabs are.
I haven't.
Oh, you stick a thing pretty far up your nose. Like you have to go really far up, and you have to spin it around for 10, 20 seconds, until your eyes are watering. It's a painful.
Yikes.
It's a painful test.
Yeah.
If you're doing the test right, and from what I've heard, that's the really only accurate way to do the test. Like a tongue swab, all that other stuff isn't as accurate.
You probably really got to scrape up in the inner membranes there, It's not just like spitting on a fucking Q-tip.
No, it's
you have to actually get into internal tissue to some degree. That's why you're going in an orifice, right?
For sure. And I mean, I have so many friends of friends who have, or also in healthcare and have been sick for a couple weeks.
Craig keeps saying this, he does blood spinning. That's why he's acting like he has all these healthcare connections. Craig gets his blood redone every month to make sure he can stay young and beautiful forever.
Yeah, that's what I'm going for.
Not 30 yet, so you're still clinging on,
I'm clinging on. No, I mean, with the amount of transfusions I've done, I should be in my 20s for a couple.
Keep mentioning all your connections in healthcare.
Years. Yeah.
My blood nurse. I mean, my friend.
I feel like a lot of them have been sick and then tested negative. Test is tricky. But I was negative. I was negative every time.
My cousin and her husband, they're both healthcare workers, Chicago area. They both got sick recently.
Yeah.
I saw one of them recently. But yeah, they got the test. They were negative too. Lot of shit swirling around. It's a good reminder that there's not just still the one thing to be concerned about.
Yeah.
There's still running out of Oberweis, not having a Klondike bar, all the horrible things that could happen to you. What do you got planned for the rest of the trip? How much longer you got here before the drive back?
I have another week.
Okay.
So
nice. That's great.
I've been
You're gonna work from home again for another week?
Working from home. It's funny to work from because I'm on video a lot in my calls.
Can we talk about where you work or no?
Sure.
You work at Salesforce?
Yeah.
So you're like kind of at a FANG type company.
Yeah.
You're one of these, the bytes and the atoms that are trafficked in America. You work for one of the bytes, right?
That's right.
Moving around numbers, moving around info.
It's been great so far. Really enjoyed it. It's kind of a weird time to start a job, just from working from home.
You told me you started like a week after.
Yeah, I had about depending on what you mean by like the week after, like actually being in the U.S. But I was a month and a half in the office before we shut down completely.
I quit my job a week before, so I'm just assuming everyone's either a week before or after everything. Yeah. So I just compressed those times. Okay, it's like a month after.
Yeah.
Month before.
Month before, and I was just saying, month before, and so I got to meet people in person, which was really helpful because I know people. My brother just started a new job, and it's just, I think, starting a job remotely is pretty tough. Like, fortunate. Shout out to Alec. Getting a job during this time, really tough. So I'm psyched for him on that.
Even knowing like what to hire for, if your business has been changed greatly.
Yeah.
Which is true for a lot of people.
Definitely.
Do you feel? I mean, you've been there since the beginning. You got to feel lucky that you came right at the beginning of this era. So, because now as the company shifts, I don't know how much Salesforce even has to change to shifting workforces or shifting companies. They like provide a lot of services to other companies. So obviously they have to probably shift their work somewhat. Although I would imagine a lot of the companies utilizing their service at a high level probably aren't most likely to be affected. Am I wrong about that or no? You think your company's going to be okay? Are you on the right ship moving forward here?
Two questions. Yeah, second question, I think we'll be okay, but for sure, like it's a split. I mean, I definitely deal with customers who are struggling really hard, and then you also deal with people who are like, who are virtual or mobile and actually benefiting from everybody going virtual or quarantining. Yeah. So you kind of see both sides of that, which is interesting.
It's good you have that perspective too, because you'd been a consultant before this job and you'd worked with different assignments, right? Working kind of remotely, similar.
Yeah, ironically, I wanted to get back into the office, and then that was one of my goals. That was one of the reasons I left my last job, was to get back in the office and more of a social scene. But
it's Salesforce. I can't imagine a better place,
Yeah, no, there's plenty of.
Mark Benioff can crush a beer can on his head, right? He does that like at staff meetings sometimes.
Every meeting. No comment.
I have nothing bad to say, but I'm just.
No,
joking.
He's great.
He's
fantastic.
Leader in the industry. I think I was complimenting you on that last time we spoke.
Yeah.
It's nice to be at a place where you can like appreciate the leadership. This has been a weird moment in history where we're sternly reminded you actually can't rely upon your elected officials. The people in the government that maybe you had counted on or that you are at least paying for. So it's nice when you in your company that you can choose, you're working for a place that you want to work under the jurisdiction of, that you want to follow the leadership of. And Benioff seems like a solid person.
Yeah. Well, I'm super fortunate that I landed there in general, just to be under that, and they have a lot of good benefits and do a lot of great donations and volunteer work, that type of thing.
Let me ask, why did you want to get back into the office life? Like, how did that decision come about? Because this is a non-corona thing, but it ends up being adjacent.
Yeah, I mean, I was working from home, and I was able to go coffee shop to coffee shop, but I mean, especially when you move to a new city, I mean, just like for a social group, for getting out of the house, like I felt like I was very much isolated being in a brand new city, working remotely.
Greg's done this a lot too, because you lived in Madison, you live in Boston, now you're living in Denver.
Yeah, just kind of jumped all over the place.
For a younger man, you're from Chicago.
Yeah, I felt like when I moved to Boston, I got a job in an office, and that was nice because I instantly had a community of friends. Or acquaintances, people meet people through that.
Oh yeah,
you're able to expand and at least get out of the house. Where Denver has a huge amount of remote workers, and there are a lot of transplants there. So I feel like there are a lot of people who are looking to meet up, and to that respect, like it's easier. But
you did move there at the right point in history. Wasn't Denver the number one like movement destination?
Yeah, I've followed a lot of trends there.
New residential destination.
Yeah. Have you been?
Yeah, I had for the first time. My best buddy's bachelor party, Arpit's bachelor party.
Oh, that's
a few years ago. Great time.
Yeah.
Amazing time. Went to Boulder, did like a hiking day trip. I got like a taste of the area. I liked it a lot. I was amazed at how. I went that summer, so it was super hot, and it was amazing how like California like it was like.
You'll have to come out again once
I would love
safe to travel and such.
And you know what? Not going to see you. You're one of the people like I'm kicking myself for, not taking advantage of.
Invited you every single place I've lived. And
I'm a dummy. I'm looking right in the camera.
Maybe you'll be.
So I'm just gonna look at myself when I'm editing this later. James,
maybe
you should have saw Craig more often, man. What are you thinking?
Hey, third time's a charm. Didn't get to Madison or Boston, but Denver.
No, now especially the second they get that vaccine, I'm gonna be on a plane, man. I'll be with you in Denver again. I would like to come out. The thing I remember being struck about with Denver, outside the niceness, is there were a lot of I remember there being a lot of homeless people, to be honest, too.
For sure.
And aggressive homeless people in a way I wasn't familiar with.
Yeah.
I grew up, being around people that had insecure housing or maybe had mental illness or just that would solicit for money on the street in Chicago. You see that a lot.
Yeah.
Growing up, you unfortunately have to build a certain skin to that just to get where you need to go, like literally in the day, just to move forward. But in Denver, it was rough. I remember we were eating outdoors at the patios, and a guy came and just screamed at the back of my head once.
Really?
And I wasn't dressed like a douche or anything. I wasn't, asking for attention. I know I was on a bachelor party, so you might think I'm wearing a dick hat or something, like I'm asking for it. It was just like a group. We were just like a group of guys, sitting around and. That wasn't the only thing, and not
Sure.
to seem like that's the whole state or whatever.
No, it's definitely.
I found it weird because there was like this $10 cocktail bar culture, like it was like fancy, cosmopolitan people, but then they were like homeless people, mad, screaming.
Yeah, well,
It
definitely has like I think a similar problem to San Francisco.
Yeah.
Where a lot of people are moving in. A lot of businesses are moving in with money, and then there's a large homeless population for probably partially for the weather, because I think you can live outside for a lot of the year.
Huge part because of the weather. Right?
Yeah, and there's definitely things being done, but not fast enough. I'm not an expert on the subject.
I know it's happening most prevalently in California, and I'm not trying to even talk shit about it. I remember feeling bad. I'm not even saying oh, this dickhead homeless guy, whatever. I felt bad for him. It was just hard to then get back into your headspace of, oh yeah, let's go back to having fun on this bachelor party that we flew to. It makes
definitely.
We are being the rich a-holes in this situation.
Definitely. I mean,
we're stopping by this person's city.
Aziz had a thing in his stand-up special about that. People are going to look back 10 years, but I think for a lot of things.
All the flying?
No, for how America treats its homeless population.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm not involved enough to know exactly what's happening, but there are certain community projects. I think there's a big golf course that they might convert into a low-income housing, which would be cool in Denver / a park. A lot of construction, tons of construction out there.
Yeah, I'm wondering what kind of government intervention is going to happen as it relates to housing. I'm a landlord, actually, so I operate 3 apartments.
You tell me every day. That's how you sign your email.
Yeah, no, but I think about this. I just saw an article that Chicago may be requiring landlords to have air conditioning starting next year.
Wow, that's an I don't know enough about I would think there might be even more pressing issues or laws they could pass,
exactly.
Right? But yeah.
Exactly. Just because I know for a fact, I think I just knew someone who converted a brick 2 flat with AC. I think it cost $6,000. It was like $3,000 a unit. That's keeping in mind they had forced air, so they had the infrastructure for the ducts. My biggest problem switching from radiator to air conditioning would be installing the pipes, the duct system, to actually deliver the AC, because it happens in a steam pipe currently. So what am I looking at? $10,000 to get that done? And like you said, could that $10,000 be used for something else besides AC?
Yeah.
I don't really know what to say.
Or laws be. I don't know enough about the housing laws in Chicago, but I feel like maybe there could be a movement or a push for something else than AC. But it does get hot here. It
does get hot here, and to be honest, I'm for it. Even if I have to end up having to drop $10,000 or whatever it is, I think what I've seen, productivity going up, efficiency going up with AC. That's a major way America has been able to move forward with their productivity.
Do you think this
in terms of their workforce? The last 50 years, the main jump has been computers and AC.
Do you think this is the push has anything to do with quarantining too, or is this before?
I don't. Just because it seems like it would actively make people less safe. I think if you required air conditioning,
a combination. People are spending more time at home, but then at the same time, I agree with you. I
Okay,
think.
yeah, maybe it is that. Maybe they're like, shit, we were going to do this anyway, or this is a good idea anyway, which I actually do think it is a good idea.
Yeah.
Again, putting the 10,000, the cost aside, return on investment, I think it's a good thing to do in general. So I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it makes
I'm not
sense.
sure exactly. I'd be curious. I mean, I want to keep people safe now. I mentioned I didn't put in my own units. I have window units I've put in part to be safer, but also just, to save money.
Yeah.
It's a tough time, and it's more resource, more electricity. I'd rather charge up these cameras here, Craig. I want to capture your mug. I don't need the.
Tell me about some of these lessons. I'm curious on how you've been. What have you learned on the 29th episode? What's the go-to?
Okay, I'll give you a couple.
I don't want
to
you to give away the secret sauce.
No. The whole point of the show actually is I'm trying to give away the secret sauce.
Okay.
Because I'm desperately trying to figure out the secret sauce. Yeah. The whole time I'm doing this podcast, I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing. I'll shoot off a couple right off the bat. Number one, if you're gonna use like a DSLR or a nice camera outdoors, you need to use an ND filter. I've learned it's like sunglasses for your camera.
Yeah.
Throw that on there. Number two, you can't count on iPhones to record 4K video for over an hour.
What happened to just
a couple times?
Crash?
A couple different iPhones, yeah, they've crashed. If they get too close to the memory limit, or if they just overheat in the sun, they'll stop. My 25th episode with Arpit, I only got 15 minutes of his cam, despite the fact that he had a new iPhone, because it just stopped after 15 minutes. He had a black case, and it might have overheated in the sun. But we just lost it. You can't count on consumer gear or I guess standard technology to do something extraordinary. This podcast is an hour long, and I'm very serious about not editing it and not cutting it, interrupting it. So I need the audio gear to record at least for a full hour. I need the video gear to record for a full hour. So it's harder than I thought. I'm just trying to be humble a little bit. Be like that. The 29 episodes, it took a lot more gear and time and effort than I thought it would, despite the fact that I think I already had a lot of that down.
Yeah. No, I mean, I love this. I think it's beautifully shot.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah. I've enjoyed watching some. I feel like, especially people I know, feel like I'm just in a conversation with them. Very similar to like what a normal podcast is, except I actually know the people personally in real life, because I feel like that happens with you've been a big podcast listener for forever. I feel like I have too. Maybe you should do some episodes where you just try. I was joking about this with someone when I said I was coming on, like just pull up a video of a coyote, pretend you're on Joe Rogan podcast, or do
oh man, no, I so want to do that.
Weird type references.
Shout out Pete Holmes. I haven't shouted him out yet. Yeah, I have listened to his a ton. And you've always given me good podcast recommendations, so I'm glad to actually talk shop with you about it. But I'm trying to think other things with the podcast. I've been really focused on the conversation piece, so I have no theme song right now, no music, although that will come.
Yeah.
There's barely a name to the podcast. It's never ending becoming podcast, but like I really don't even care what the name is. I'm so focused on these 1 hour conversations that right now I've been trying to put a lot of the other stuff to the side. Obviously, I'm self-producing, so I'm trying to get good at like turning the cameras on as we roll, whatnot. But once all that covered, then I'm going to go to the music, the Joe Rogan Coyote clip pull-ups. Jamie, pull it up.
I hate that so much.
Because you're listening to it, and it's like, why am I?
Yeah, doesn't make any sense.
Do you listen to podcasts or watch them?
I always listen.
I always do too, which is hilarious that I'm doing this insane video.
Because you haven't done the audio format yet, right? Or have you put it out yet? I'm saying.
No, I haven't released it on iTunes. Oh, that's my other strategy is I'm not sharing these with anyone. I've been like putting them on YouTube, but I'm not like openly like posting about this shit, because again, I'm focused on like whether it's good. Like I want to have it be good first before I'm like marketing to people.
Well, you shouldn't have had me on.
No, you're my marketing expert. That's why I had you on. I want you to tell me how I'm supposed to market these 29 episodes. Yeah,
well, I'll figure it out by the end of this one, hopefully. Do you always cut it off at an hour, or do you let it roll?
It's like an hour and some change. Sometimes it's 10 minutes under, 10 minutes over. It might be dictated by what's going on that day for me. Really depends. Some sort of sign is going to come up, or an audio thing, actually quite soon.
Really?
Will be coming up to tell us it's been an hour.
Really? We're almost at an hour?
We're probably 45 at least in, if not in the 50s.
I feel like I haven't given you anything yet.
That's how it is though, man. No, seriously, that's the other thing is like you sit down, and then before you realize it's over, you had the best of intentions for what you wanted to talk about, but it's already.
Well, I had no intentions. I was because I know it was open format.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have come prepared with some stories. I can talk about the Mercury Sable that I had up in Madison, Wisconsin.
We can talk old cars because actually I can do this with so few people. It's nice to.
Well, I don't know much about it, but I had a funny. Did I ever tell you about that car?
Mercury Sable?
Yeah, so it was my grandparents' car. In 1997, red Mercury Sable, Kansas City Zoo sticker on the side.
Is that a team or something? Zeus?
Kansas City Zoo. Is this
a
Zoo
Zoo?
sticker?
Like Kansas City Zeus? I'm like, is that a band? I don't know.
But immediately, like driving to work, probably a couple weeks in, the brakes were rusted out, so I got those replaced. Well, again, it was a free car. Was happy to have it. Thankful for it. But then about 7-8 months in, I'm driving it, and then whenever it happened that whenever I came to a stop, I'd have to put it into reverse or into park and then back into drive to get it to move again. It just stalled out.
Something about the transmission was
just destroyed.
That's a lot to deal with, man.
I drove from Madison to Chicago doing that. So I try to just coast on the highway without coming to a stop, because if I came to a stop, I'd have to put it in park or reverse and then back into drive.
It's like a gear shifting.
Super dangerous on left turns.
Oh, yeah.
But
I would trust you to be pretty quick at that, because I know, like, you have good hand-eye coordination, and I think you would actually be set up really well to do it in that position.
Yeah, it was kind of invigorating. Like, it was an exciting way to drive for a little bit, but finally had to give it up, because I think it was like $3,000 to replace fix it. The transmission. The car was worth like $400. I went to CarMax. They said $100. They were good. Give me $100 for that car.
Hey, triple digits.
Yeah.
I texted CarMax, sent them a picture of my car, and they said they called me back actually and said that their text messaging rates didn't qualify even to text me back. It wouldn't be a good return on their investment to even pay the 5 cents for the message to give me a quote on my 20-cent car. Well, I'm glad you got a new car and you don't have to worry about. You got a Subaru Forrester. Honestly, that car has amazing reviews. That's like.
Yeah, I love that car.
Mid-size. Yeah, that's like,
great.
You live in Denver now too, so I'm sure you got like 50% off it, right? When you live in Colorado, they give you a huge discount.
That car is really actually pretty hard to buy in Colorado, because it's the biggest cliche. I was embarrassed to tell people I got it, because it's everyone has a Subaru in Colorado.
How do you feel about that? Living in Denver, telling people about your new Forester?
I'm all in now. I was. It's really. So
was this a joint decision, like you and Allie, or just yourself?
No, this is me. Allie
so you have all the blame
Kia,
and all the.
She's a Kia Forte, which is a great car too.
No Sable, but yeah.
Yeah, shout out to Kia. Kia and Oberweis.
Kia, I have learned Kia is the shit.
Kia does great cars. Really nice cars. We went on a 14er. I don't know if you know about 14ers. So essentially, it's just over 14,000 feet. People in Colorado will call a peak a 14er, and it's a big thing to hike these mountains to get to the peak of them, because there's a 50 plus. So it's kind of an accomplishment. It's a miserable time, really, because it's just like a hard hike at like 12,000 plus feet.
Right. You're chewing on cocoa leaves to help the altitude sickness,
But driving up there is sometimes you have to have like a all-wheel drive car.
There you go.
So that's been helpful.
You do live one of those rare places where it's like, yeah, look at the terrain. I mean, I'm not going to drive up this mountain.
Yeah. In
a manual car that's got like two-wheel drive. Also a terrible back two-wheel drive.
It's illegal to be on the highway in the winter. You can get a pretty big ticket if you don't have chains or an all-wheel drive car.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you're putting people in danger if it does snow, because you can easily cause an accident or.
I didn't know about the chains.
Yeah, chains or. Yeah, I wouldn't trust my opinion on this being a complete fact, but I know it's something along those lines. Chains or a 4-wheel drive.
I was gonna get a 4-wheel drive anyway, just living in Chicago. Could be 3 days a year where you need it, but those 3 days would be brutal. It kind of eliminates your ability to move around those 3 days, or maybe a week or two, depending on how rough the winters have been.
I haven't talked to you about. Have you talked about traveling or?
In what way?
You had a big
on a podcast. Talking about travel? I don't know about that.
You had a big trip. Was that in November?
Me going to
October?
Nepal?
Yeah.
Briefly. It's sad how little we talked about it.
Yeah, as I haven't caught up to you. I think when we were on the phone, I found out you had been in Nepal, and somehow I had let that slip, or maybe it's just things are
Could have been me, man. It's just, I don't know how vocal I was about it.
Did you do any hiking in Nepal?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, we went to the top of Poon Hill, which is it's a funny name, but no, we went to the top of Poon Hill there, so it wasn't like I didn't do like an Everest thing. I did like Annapurna Base Camp. There's all these different levels you can do. I don't know if it's a 14er. I'd have to look at the.
Probably.
Was in Nepal. I think to be honest, I think it was around that because I'd also previously been to Peru.
Yep.
And I'd been at similar elevations where they're like, because I was trekking.
They gave you the cocoa leaves.
Yeah, that's where that joke's coming from.
Yeah.
I was trekking with 3 Nepali people, like native Nepalis. So they're like, is this white boy gonna die with us? Is he gonna be okay?
We have to leave him up here somewhere.
But luckily I'd just been to like high elevations in Peru, literally a year before that. So I was like, I am fine with altitude for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's having big lungs or a small brain, not thinking about the consequences, not even realizing that I should be scared or upset in the situation. But
maybe just getting like giddy, like kind of that altitude sickness, where you just feels like a little tipsy.
Right, I get super goofy, and it's like, James thinks he's fine.
No, actually, I bet you were over 14. I mean, because Everest is around 30, right? But who knows how? I don't know how.
8 of the top 10 peaks are in Nepal. Like they're all so different. I want to say I was around 12,000 or something.
Yeah,
I want to say it's switching from imperial metric.
It makes a big difference in terms of, I've noticed coming back here, just going on runs, feel a lot better than being a mile high. Like it actually is a pretty big difference.
I can say your vocal push, your breath strength actually compared to a normal podcast guest. I can tell you've been living at altitude.
I lost my voice for about a couple months, like right in the February time frame, because I was super sick in February. I told you I was sick like 3 times, and then actually, I mean, I had no idea what it actually was, but because as a result of that, I didn't have a voice for like 3-4 weeks to 6 weeks. I don't know.
When you got to Zoom people too, they're like, "Hey, Craig, your mic's not on," or "I think something's wrong with your mic."
Sounding like I was dying right before we went straight into quarantine too. But yeah, I'm glad my voice is. At the beginning,
back now. At the beginning, they were probably just like, "Craig, we're not going to make you come to the office. Relax. You don't have to fake an illness. Jesus, we know you're new, but it's not that kind of company, man. Come on, don't worry about it. It's not going to be an issue."
We were in a WeWork before.
No shit?
Yeah.
Fascinating. One day this is going to be an antiquity. WeWork used to be a company that they pretended was a tech company when really it was a real estate landlording company.
Yep.
That went out of business in 2021. I don't know. What's your prediction for that?
That's a good question.
Sorry, I'm just being a dickhead. Yeah. I'm a landlord, so I got to come out hard against
Oberweis all day. Yeah.
No, but I'm a landlord, and they're trying to trade like they're a tech company, but I really think it's total bullshit. They're fucking landlords. That's a great example. I think there's. Sorry, I'm about to get inflamed here because I think there's all these bubbles in financial market zombie companies, and I think there's all this magical tech money, kind of like late 90s, early 2000s tech money that's inflating things in a very similar way. But WeWork, fucking hilarious unicorn company example. I could talk shit about it for days. What was your actual experience in the WeWork? I'm just talking shit.
It's actually good. It was.
I better be a good service with all the investor money they got subsidizing the shit out of us.
The amount of money they probably charge for a seat is, I think, astronomical.
Not only that, but they're subsidizing with investor money too. So they're taking money from Salesforce. Were you working there for Salesforce or a different company?
Yeah, Salesforce had an office there.
So they're really a services company. So they help Salesforce as they're growing extremely, before they can handle their own landlording work.
Yep.
Before they hire someone on staff like me to do all their landlording. Salesforce, give me a call, I'll be happy. No, but then they get like this company WeWork to do it for them. It sounds like they provide a high-level service. So you got free K-cups and all that, or what? What was the...
they had coffee. They had water. That's pretty much it.
No, what are the amenities? I want to know.
They had...
What's the Denver WeWork market
They had
like?
Coffee. They had an espresso machine where you could, do the button pressing and say, "Oh, I want a latte. I want a cappuccino," that type of thing. And they had some events. The people that worked there were great. Like in terms of the actual end user or WeWork community member experience, it was pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't there long, like I mentioned. So
you start speaking your own language, that end user stuff. Let me speak my language. Tenant. You meant to say tenants. Said the oldest business of all time. Just sitting in a glorified treehouse is basically what being a tenant is.
Great views of the mountains. It was nice. I missed being in an office in general though, so it could be a nostalgia talking a little bit.
It will, and I'm talking shit, but to be honest, I think things like WeWork do need to exist, especially as more people do become contract-based laborers or they're working self-employed. You mentioned missing a work community.
Yeah. I
now don't have like an office environment. I'm trying to create it in my yard here, but I would love a place like WeWork to have a lot of that set up.
I mean, in Denver, just with the amount of remote workers, there's so many smaller businesses that do the same thing. Because when I was working remote for my previous job, I kind of toured, did a free day at like 8, probably like 6 of them. Could have kept going. But I was trying to find one just for long term, coming in like 2 or 3 days a week. I did one in Boston. It's a nice way to find some community, and some of them are actually pretty affordable.
Okay, here's the thing though. It ends up being where you're paying for networking, right?
You're paying for like over
community.
You're paying like a ton of money for coffee. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so that's the thing. You either say that the square footage itself is extremely expensive, the dollar per square footage is expensive, or you say, it is $2 a foot, but that extra $1.50, $3, I don't know what it is per square foot. That goes to the network, the community,
definitely.
The not losing your mind. Some people I'm sure go to WeWork just because they can't go from their home to their garage all day, even if they're writers, even if they're people that can work in a solitary environment.
Yeah.
You kind of need those mental repetitions with other people.
Where do you have an office? In the garage?
Yeah. No, I've been working in here. It's cooler. It's like a cement.
You should get a nice little patio set up out here too. Well, I mean, the weather we had, at the beginning of the week, I was working outside in the morning. I was like, this is great. I don't have a backyard in
Well, to be
Denver.
honest, every time I film, I'm working outside. Like,
That's true.
I do have those.
You're out here plenty of times. Hey, am I supposed to like look at all the cameras sometimes? Like just talk to that one?
Oh, it depends. Yeah, like I like to look at the cameras.
Because I've been looking at you the whole time,
right.
Which maybe.
So I like to look at the cameras because to me, I think it's more phony when you pretend like they're not there. When I have this gigantic camera, like pointing at your face. So my ethos is, take a look.
Take a look once in a while.
Take a look. Even me, if anything, I'll make eye contact and signal and nod, be like, edit this later. Edit this later.
Edit this out.
No, but that really doesn't matter. I don't have rules like that. We can try some genre bending stuff. Have
you talked about some of your other creative?
A little bit, and I haven't enough
on here.
I haven't a ton.
I'm curious about it. We could talk after, but
No, this is the perfect time, and we're almost at the end here. So let's get it, because you yourself, you're interested in some creative elements. Maybe
definitely
putting something in pixels at some point.
Yeah, definitely. Right now, it's almost like a once a week type of hangout with friends, just like being a little creative, but would love to.
I mentioned to you I wanted to write something serial. You mentioned you were writing something serial.
Yeah.
Actually getting pen on paper. This is different than that. This exercise is largely the same that it would be without the camera.
Yeah.
But when you're actually getting on with Google Docs, maybe trying to collaborate with people, getting something written, that's a whole nother level.
It's interesting doing it with 2 other people. Yeah, but it's been going great. How's your work coming?
It's not really. It's the serial thing. It's not. I've been in for years the phase where you're just collecting ideas.
Yeah.
I got the iPhone's notes open. I have different sections. Maybe this is just for jokes. This is just for ideas. This is just for commentary, quotes. To me, I'm collecting all this. I'm putting everything through the filter of my brain, and then I want to distill and sort of compile something. Serial at some point, because this is all leading up to it. The skills actually I mentioned today being the first podcast I'm shooting correctly, I think. Well, if I would have tried to use these cameras and leverage other people's time, lighting people, actors, whatever, it would be a huge waste of time. So I need to get my foundational shit done first. I know that's where I'm at.
That's fantastic. I know. How many notes do you have are separate?
I never took notes until I was 25. I wasn't a big writer until then. Now I have a Moleskine filled up. I got a couple manila folders with just 8.5 by 11s with scribbles and whatnot. Currently, if I had to put it in terms of 5-star notebooks, I would say I haven't filled out a 5-subject 5-star notebook from when we were kids. I don't know. Is this speaking your language or no?
That's pretty good. No, I was curious because I have
I filled up at least the moleskin.
You're an organized.
Between 1 and 2 moleskins.
You're an organized, and I feel like you're also do a good job of getting ideas across the line, in my opinion.
Thank you. I'll take it. I mean, this podcast is some proof of that.
Yeah, for sure.
It's shown me I do have some of the perseverance, but it hasn't happened until 6 months ago. So I know you're about to enter this phase for yourself, because I didn't start shooting till I was 30, and you're 29 now. So
yeah,
you're about to be like, I'm ready to say something to the world. I'm ready to get there. How has your writing experience been? You're doing it with other people. The other thing with me is I'm trying to do it all alone. I want to loop in Matt, other people. I'd love to ask you for jokes. I'd love to ask you for ideas, but I want to have the outline done. I want to send people a season 1 arc. I want to send people the outline for 5 episodes, and then I want their feedback as it relates to that structure.
For sure.
I don't want to start bringing people into the garage here and be like, so what story are we doing, guys? Girls, like when really it's the thing I need to get across the finish line.
I feel like we meet seldomly enough that we'll have a disagreement on where the story's going, and by the next time we'll forget what we were disagreeing about. And we'll settle on one arc, which is actually maybe not the best way to settle. Like we're not obviously passionate enough about it happening a very, very certain way. But it's been a funny way of like letting ideas flow into the next week of being like, all right, well, we forget why we were arguing. Let's just go this way.
Dude, that is so fucking key. I'm super into not having goals in life, but having systems. Like having a system to get work done, as opposed to like the 1 podcast a week goal.
Yeah.
I want to have more of a system for getting work done. But I think you've totally tapped into this because you've realized there's an excellent system for just letting the bullshit fall to the ground.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that not what it is? Like if you don't care enough after a week.
Stumbled upon it. Like, if you asked me if that was a good methodology, I would have been like, that sounds terrible. Like we're gonna lose.
Give your subconscious some credit. Come
on. That's interesting. Systems instead of goals.
But you've done this because I mentioned the Google Doc system. I mentioned the fact that there's. I asked you last time. There's 3 of you, but who's the one kind of moving things forward? Because I'd be worried having 3 people by having diffusion of responsibility.
Yeah, we have.
If there's no bad guy,
we have to set some goals at some point just to get it moving. But I think we're moving. We're going the right direction every single time.
That's awesome.
There is a speed aspect of it that I think will be next meeting. We'll figure it out next.
I'm gonna have you on the podcast again. I know what's gonna happen, but before that stage, before I'm sure I'm further along in a serial project or even in some of these broadcast type projects, what would your advice to me be if you could help me out?
Oh, that's a good question.
I told you I was doing the universal basic income idea.
Yeah. I didn't want to talk about it.
Universal basic outcome. No, I've talked about it on other podcasts.
Okay.
And the other thing is, like the other stuff, I'm not secretive. I'm trying to give away all my ideas. If you can beat me to this idea and write and produce the show before I can, congratulations.
I'm not the right person to ask, but the one thing I feel like is
you've started, dude.
Yeah, I've started. I think one thing we're trying to do is actually keep it more isolated until we have something where we actually have a written outline and then get some feedback.
So you're doing a similar thing then?
I think what you already said you were doing, because I think
even to how I'm releasing the podcast.
Yeah.
Like I'm not even openly releasing these as much. I'm producing because I'm trying to figure out how to produce. I don't want to talk about the release and the market piece.
Well, and bringing people in too early, I think, could very easily give you a bunch of differing opinions, and I'm indecisive enough that that would throw me off completely. Yeah. So it feels like, I don't know. I would say I'm curious about your systems. We can talk more about the systems versus goals.
Sure. So I've had different ones specifically as it comes to writing too. If you want to talk about like writing a serial thing, and I've tried different ones. The general system I've done is just condensing every good idea I ever come across. I think all good art is distilled.
Yeah.
I think, when I look at creators I admire, like someone like Kubrick, who would take source material. You'd take a novel. He would take his love of photography and of lenses. He would take a team of researchers he would hire and take local stuff. You mentioned, you live in Colorado, The Shining. He famously got Native American cultural imagery and put it in The Shining, and he actually took all this stuff from Colorado, Southwest U.S. imagery, put it in The Shining. Are you familiar with this or no?
I know where the hotel is.
The Overwatch Hotel?
In Estes Park in Colorado.
So it's like, it seems like a lot of work, right, to dig into the Colorado Public Library to figure out what Native American tartan can be used as this fabric that's thrown over a seat, whatever. But I would love to work like that. I'm going to have these things, like the Never Ending Becoming podcast, in my jam, where it's just one take and it's not scripted and I release them weekly and it's an ongoing thing. But if I do have this thing where I'm distilling, I want it to be fucking crazily distilled. You know, I want it to really have 30 years of my humanity, if I can, of my intelligence, and try to get it in there. So in terms of system right now, I am just letting the notebooks grow.
Sure.
And I want to take that 1 to 2 moleskins and then, turn it into 5 pages. Just keep, carving it down.
So the UBI isn't necessarily like the one project. There's a bunch of things that you're not
crazy,
focused
dude.
on. You're not focused on like necessarily one storyline. It's more just getting a ton of info.
The universal basic income outcome one is something I want to do as it's tied to, your purpose for life, meaning, society, your contributions, not only financial elements, but the way you're connected. In this conversation, we were talking about how you got a good situation. You're at a good company, maybe you're making good money, but you want to go to Salesforce because you actually want to be around people. You want a good culture. Like I do see the value in that. Other systems, I can't speak too strongly about the serial one. I could talk about my systems for the podcast. It helps to have a schedule weekly.
Yeah.
Kind of like the weekly goal thing. But even then, it's like, do it every time the weather's going to be good. Like if I pick these based on when the sun is out or when we're going to be rained on, whatever. Like it's easy to take those things, or easier to take those things into consideration for your system. Otherwise, if it's just based on the goal, you're not talking about the weather.
Yeah.
If it's just doing one per week, you're not talking about your schedule. If I'm in Nepal, whatever, there are other considerations in your life where you're flying somewhere, you're here, you're there. The fact that you're here, I squeeze this in. I'm going on vacation next week.
Are you going up to Wisconsin?
I'm going to Eagle River. Yeah.
Nice.
So, you're here in town on vacation. I'm about to go on vacation. Like you can have every goal and good idea you want in life, but if the system that this is all baked into is not conducive to that goal, what the hell's the point?
Totally.
Systems moving forward, I'm going to lock myself in a cabin up in Wisconsin and finish writing. That's going to be my new system.
A little Bon Iver methodology.
Exactly. For James, forever ago. Can you help me? I asked for advice and help for these systems, and I'm trying to give you my systems, but I got nothing to say yet.
I don't think I have it figured out, man. Okay. But I feel like I like goals a lot. I have notes I have so many notes in my phone. And I actually did like a daily, weekly, monthly thing, and trying to keep honest to like when I put something down, actually doing it within that time frame. But
I have some goals too. I'm not trying to be simple.
No, I know. I feel like that's I know you do. Yeah. I like the system. I was just trying to dig into it a little further.
I'm trying to shift too from purely goal based to system based.
Yeah.
Like, how about this?
I can work in tandem.
One is I'm going to have this podcast for 80 years. I'm going to live to 110.
Sure.
And do this for 80 years.
Same. Now, you're not going to change the color of that garage, I hope.
I'm going to change it probably within the next 11 months. It's true. If I keep having to shoot out here, I'm going to start changing it as a business expense. I'm going to start. The paint is now my set dressing. No, but I'm going to have this podcast for 80 years. To have this podcast for 80 years, is that a goal or is that a system? Because my system in life is to podcast my whole life. Is that a system for my life, or is that a goal to podcast for 80 years? It's going to take me 80 fucking years to reach that goal. So why should I be focused on the goal that takes 80 years when I can be focused on the system that will be in place for 80 years?
It's almost like journey versus destination you're talking now.
I think that's what everyone's life is all the time.
Yeah.
I think you're always just having different versions of that conversation.
I'll be a long-term listener for the next 80 years.
Nice.
I'm excited. Hey, do you give
my system?
Media? Do you give media recommendations on this podcast?
I do now. What do you got for us?
I got one.
Hit us up. Craig's always helped me out. He's always helped keep me abreast.
I really liked. My mom rented a movie on Amazon, and she was like, "Hey, this movie's. You can watch it for the next 24 hours because I rented it. We share an account, and it was St. Francis. Have you seen that movie?
No, but this is familiar to me. Who's in this?
I don't know her name, but she's a Chicago comedian, I believe. It's based in Evanston. Good movie.
Lauren Lapkus.
Is it? Yeah.
Is this her?
Sounds about right. Blonde?
Yeah. Tall, skinny.
Yeah.
Funny as hell.
Yeah. Well, movie's not necessarily. Movie's more.
She's from Evanston.
Movie's more dramedy. But
I love Lauren Lapkus. She's come up on the pod very recently.
I wonder if I will have to look it up.
This is why too, because I like her as an artist, and I would like to watch more of her stuff, especially. Again, shout out Chicago area stuff. How was it? Amazon original?
And not totally sure. Definitely an independent film of some sort.
Oh, you said
whatever
Amazon.
that means. But I watched it on Amazon. Yeah.
Okay.
But it was great. That's probably my movie of the year. Movie
Kick-ass.
2020.
Nice.
I really like Dave a lot too. The TV show. You watched Dave yet?
All right, guys. It's been 1 hour. Let's wrap it up.
Talking about TV shows, it's like time to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Well, now that you've watched us for an hour, go watch Dave for an hour. No, what's Dave, man? What's Dave?
It's a little Dicky show, so it's a little bit. It can be a little much at some point, but it's actually a really good show.
Dicky, like it's a broy show, like it's assholes, like.
No, do you know the rapper Lil Dicky?
Oh, Little Dicky.
Yeah.
Okay, this has come up. I have talked about this with my cousins.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard this is great. I heard it's a
good
great show.
Really good show. Yeah.
That's right.
Had to
It's funny, Little
give
Dicky.
your listeners a couple of recommendations. That's what I was giving you.
I'm getting confused because Little Dicky came up. Dickie Roberts, David Spade, also was in a movie with Lauren Lapkus, The Wrong Missy.
I have no idea.
You have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
But
I
David
also
Spade
don't
and
even
Lauren,
know if Lauren Lapkus is actually in St. Francis. Very, very possible.
I'm giving Lauren Lapkus, the name
Lauren
recognition,
Lapkus
whether
and
she's in it or
Oberweis
not.
are just the two things you come back to.
I rep Chicago shit so fucking hard. I brought Kanye West up in the last one. Anything I can, really. Any excuse I can get to. I haven't watched Dave. Is it a 40-minute one? 20-minute?
I think it's like a 23-minute. It's a Hulu.
Okay. I heard two biggest ones on HBO have been Westworld and Sopranos, which are right up my alley.
Yeah, still haven't seen Sopranos. I really have to dedicate some time now that I'm.
That's what you need to watch. That's what you need to watch. Get on there. They were offering it for free too, man.
They were.
Yeah.
Yeah. Westworld's good. First season's the
I mean,
best.
you work for Westworld now, so you should go see what Rehoboam's about.
Did you watch Westworld?
Yeah.
Yeah. You thought third season was decent?
Yeah. I watched it, leading into the quarantine with nothing else to do. I was one of the people watching it, just enjoying it, whatever.
Yeah.
I did go through a movie phase too. You mentioned St. Francis or, trying to watch longer form stuff.
Yeah.
I did do some of that. I watched, what was the Korean movie that won last year? Won Best Picture?
Oh, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. Parasite.
I watched Parasite.
Parasite was
I
excellent.
Started watching all the best movies I've missed.
Yeah.
So I started that, and then tried to watch La La Land. Turns out it's about a 50th as good as Parasite. Yeah, I was just watching the old Best Picture winners.
Not a big La La Land
It's terrible.
fan.
I don't know. I don't want to just be an asshole and talk shit about it. I'm sure it was enjoyable. I just wasn't in the mood for it.
Yeah.
Watched that. Watched some other ones with Shavana. Have been definitely more amenable to movies. I gotta get the list out, man. The movies have come up a couple times, but I can't do the whole rundown. I've been watching a lot of YouTube, to be honest with you.
You should listen to another podcast called The Rabbit Hole.
Okay. I'll promote other
on
podcasts.
YouTube. It's
Who's
based
in it?
on it's one of those podcasts that they dive into how folks can fall down rabbit holes on YouTube based on the algorithm that recommends videos, and it follows this guy who kind of goes really deep into the far right.
I've actually kind of been studying it too, because now I'm like a YouTube creator.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I've been watching YouTube more is just to be like, so what the fuck is going on with all this? Like, what is even happening on YouTube?
So you'd really enjoy it. It's very interesting. They talk to YouTube's CEO, talk about how that algorithm's affecting culture, the cultural wars that are kind of going on. It's interesting.
The CEO though? Sometimes when you listen to CEOs talk,
you
have to listen to the political speak of everything.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I'm more desperate for authentic conversation.
No, absolutely. It's a spin-off of The Daily. So it's New York Times, again, not investigative, but it's a long format story.
I could
on
dig
a
that.
podcast.
I'm also watching more long format stuff now because that's the medium I'm traversing in.
Yeah.
I want to get good at asking questions. I want to become a more skilled listener.
Yeah, who's your favorite podcaster now?
Honestly, Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Just because, a lot of times it's not about, and not that he's not skilled. I think he's very skilled at podcasting. A lot of times it's about what the podcast means to other people, who else listens to it. Now, because there's so many, men in my life, younger men trying to figure out how to become adults, how to become responsible citizens, whatever. A lot of people watch Rogan. And it ends up being like a thermometer for the male ego, it seems, in society. Am I looking too deep into this, you think?
No, the podcast I was talking about jumps into that. He has a huge amount of influence.
Yeah.
I feel like.
No, but I love actually that he actually does have people on from closer to the right side of the ideological spectrum, because I'm bankrupt of those ideas a lot of times. If I don't go seek out right-leaning ideas, or at least going to figure out what rural America is thinking, not even right-leaning, it's not even like conservative economic shit a lot of times, just thinking about what middle America is thinking, lack of a better term, I'm in Chicago, peace and love, you're going to be totally ignorant. I think you can't speak to your fellow countrymen. I think it's wrong. I think it's the whole echo chamber thing.
Sure. Yeah.
I want him to expose me. You know, I brought up that dumb thing. I think it was the Brett Weinstein one. He's like, he was pushing all this conservative shit. You kind of got to see what's out there to some degree. And that's actually one of the reasons I find Rogan right now to be the most valuable to me, is because the authenticity from the single voice, not being afraid to have right leaners on, so I'm not like intellectually bankrupt.
Sure. That's funny, because I just like skip over those episodes. I should probably, where I just am like, I'll just listen to the people I know.
But to be honest, you can do that too. And what ends up happening is, even if you watch the liberal Rogan ones, a lot of times he is at least responding to the conservative points that are brought up in the other episodes. Of course, he ends up, unfortunately, being a sounding board for some of those ideas sometimes.
That's the main criticism, right, that I've heard, yeah.
But that's always the criticism. Like, just don't talk about any bad ideas in hopes they go away. There is some of that, like, you do want stuff to die, but at the getting a little windy here. On the same wavelength, you got to shine light on stuff. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm not always trying to come to the camera with answers here, but I want to like ask questions and talk shit out.
Sure. Yeah.
And then that way, maybe next year I'll have the answer.
Or by the 80th year.
80 years. Until then, thanks for joining us, Craig. Thanks for coming on. I'll have to have you on again soon.
Yeah, excited for it.
I know you can't get to everything that first session. How was it? This is your first podcast, right?
First podcast. I was pretty intimidated. It was great. Yeah, I don't know how much I actually contributed here, but I love talking to you.
And I love talking to you.
Excited to hear or see the end product.
Absolutely. Well, let me get to work. Let me put it out. We'll see y'all soon, and then come on again soon, okay, man?
Will do.
Yeah,
see you, James.